Ahoy, ahoy, and welcome to today's episode on the whole 30 videos in 30 days. We are on day 4, conveniently enough, July 4th, 2021. I'm kind of pretty happy to be doing this on Independence Day. I've been thinking a lot this morning, especially with regard to liberty, individual liberty, and sacrifice. Because as much as we advocate for liberty, we don't really acknowledge as much that oh that will not be edited out in post-production because I currently don't do post-production. That's just going to be a sneeze. We don't really acknowledge exactly how much sacrifice goes into the maintenance of liberty. Fact of the matter is, we are coming up on 250 years as a country. I'm genuinely really excited for that. That should be a remarkably festive year, and hopefully we can get another version of Captain America, like the Spirit of 76, which I still think is one of the best dressed versions. But even at that time, there was a tremendous amount of sacrifice required. Many people died, and many people suffered all their way through. We wouldn't have been able to do it without the support of additional communities such as French at the time. Now, one of the things that I appreciate with the Eagles is we advocate for liberty, truth, justice, equality, and among the things that we're reminded when we talk about liberty is the fact that we should live along the lines of Patrick Henry, who regretted that he had but one life to give for his country. He understood sacrifice. I'm not going to declare that the U.S. has had a tremendous record overall with equality, truth, justice, any of that. Lord love history. But we really do get stuck on liberty quite a bit. And we honestly, over the years, have done a tremendous amount of sacrificing. Multiple world wars. Granted, we've gone a little bit more fuzzy since about Vietnam, but, you know, shit happens. Not everything can be golden. But we've grown very rich into the concept of our individual liberties and such. We do still acknowledge the sacrifice. We do still honor our military. We could certainly honor them better with better funding of the VA. We do still honor our police and acknowledge their sacrifice. There's a huge funeral just this last week for an off-duty officer who was killed on the highway while helping someone out. And, you know, we acknowledge all these things. But one of the really large problems that we have, especially as of late, is we absolutely recognize the sacrifice that other people are happy to make. We're less willing to take those chances ourselves. Which is kind of funny, because if you consider it, a lot of the people who preach about, you know, the Pledge of Allegiance don't really acknowledge the fact that when you're pledging allegiance to the country, you are putting that country before you. You are putting the good of the community ahead of your individual need. You know, similarly, if you were to join the military, you are actively making a choice to potentially sacrifice yourself. The preamble to the Constitution specifically specifies that we the people, in order to form a more perfect union, yada yada, provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare. Those come before the individual pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. So everything is on the presumption that as a citizen, for your liberty, you accept the fact that there will be sacrifice. Pretty straightforward. And it should be a given that part of that sacrifice is understanding that the good of the community outweighs your individual good. That's just plain part of the social contract. So a lot of you folks know that I'm one of the pirates. Whoop, pardon me. Drop some. I hate to drop stuff. And one of the things that was drilled into me when I joined the pirates was that the pirates take priority over the individual members. The organization does not need any specific members. It does not need specifically me. And if called upon, I have let folks that I've sponsored in know that if called upon, if it comes down to a choice between loyalty to me or loyalty to the organization, I would be ashamed if they sided with me if it meant supporting the organization correctly. A lot of people don't get that kind of mentality these days where where you have all these benefits, where you have all these advantages, but you have all these benefits and advantages because other people have fought for them. Other people have literally sacrificed for them. And it's only fitting and respectful to acknowledge that sacrifice. And the best way to acknowledge that sacrifice is to be willing to sacrifice yourself as need dictates. Now, here's kind of where I'm coming around to on this. I really don't want to delve too much into politics if I can avoid it. There's plenty enough people talking about politics. But we are now at a point where everyone who plans to be vaccinated is vaccinated. And we are still not at 70% around the country. In fact, there's a dozen states where vaccinations are under 50%, and they are all these same states that advocate personal freedom, that advocate liberty, that lionize the police and the military and call them all heroes and Blue Lives Matter and all of this nonsense, yet refuse to acknowledge the fact that when you signed on to your agreement as a citizen, when you pledge allegiance to the flag, you are pledging allegiance to support the common good. You are providing for the common defense and supporting the general welfare. When you are pledging allegiance to the flag, you are promising to put the country's needs above your individual needs. You are promising to sacrifice. And the only sacrifice that you're being asked to do is to take a vaccine that has been rigorously tested. It has been given approval. It has been shown that the areas with high vaccination rates are able to open up. Yes, there are risks, but the risks are scandalously low. Frighteningly low. And even honest to God, if I had a 10 or 15% chance the vaccine would kill me, but it would save 100,000 other people, hey, guess what? Stick me 6 or 7 fucking times. Stick me 10 times just to give the odds correct. Because I care about my family. I care about my parents. I care about my kids. And I actually have faith in people who do the work, because one of my best friends is a vaccine researcher, and I've seen the excruciating detail that she deals with in vaccine trials. The vaccines have been available for 6 months now. In the areas where they have been applied, people are thriving and surviving. But because all these folks who shout liberty from the treetops refuse to make the bare minimum sacrifice that liberty requires, people are still dying. A lot. And there's no excuse for that. Disagree all you want. Fact of the matter is, at this point, with as much of the country as has been vaccinated, with as much as it has reflected the infection rate going down and hospitals having availability, and the states with the higher vaccinations being able to open up more freely, it's no longer a question of if the vaccine's a good idea. Your individual liberty to throw a punch ends at the tip of my nose. Unless a doctor specifically says that you are at risk by taking the vaccine, the arrogance, the sheer arrogance to outweigh your individual liberty over the required sacrifice that liberty, that the very same liberty that you are preaching for calls for, makes you a hell of a lot more part of the problem than part of the solution. Period. There's just no way around it. Now, mind you, I am going to be the first person to argue for anyone's rights to their own choices. I will argue your right to your religion. I will argue your right to your convoluted beliefs. I will even acknowledge your right to be a flat earther. But you know what? Flat earth mentality doesn't kill people. Not getting vaccinated does. So, if you like liberty, please join the rest of us. Provide for the common defense against disease. Promote the general welfare by taking the minor sacrifice of a minuscule risk to protect your fellow citizens so that they can continue to exercise their personal liberty from above the ground instead of 6 feet fucking below it. And please, be like Patrick Henry. Regret that you have but one life to give to your country. I would give mine for you. And I would not ask from you what I would not give to you. It's not that hard a choice. Love you.